All right, we are back. We have a very special guest with us today. He has been a back-to-back Final Five finisher the past 2 years at the WSL Finals in San Clemente. In 2022, he won back-to-back events also. Margaret River Pro, Quicksilver Pro G-Land. I was there. I'm wearing the t-shirt. And placed third in the world by the end of the year. In 2023, he started the year off with a bang, taking the win at the Billabong Pro Pipeline, finishing the way he started with another win at the Shiseido Tahiti Pro, qualifying again for the finals and finishing fifth in the world. This year, as of recording, we're recording here in mid-March, he's currently well positioned for yet another title run. He claimed the Hurley Pro Sunset Beach in Hawaii and is currently sitting number 4 on the overall rankings. He's one of the subjects of a surf documentary produced in partnership with Samsung, exploring the connection between surfers, the ocean, and their global community. And he has recently become a new parent alongside his beautiful wife, Julia, to a healthy baby boy. And he is the first ever 4-time repeater guest on the lineup. We have Western Australia's Jack Robinson with us. Jack, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you for having me.
So
Thanks. That's quite the intro.
Yeah, we could just end it with that. That sounded good.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
So we are recording, as I said, it's mid-March. We've just come off of Portugal. The Bells window hasn't started yet. By the time this airs, it might be actually after the entire Australian leg after Margaret River. But as of today, where are you and your family in the world right now?
We're on the Gold Coast right now. We have an apartment here. We're out before we go to Bells Beach tomorrow. So just getting a few days at home. I came back from Portugal 3 days ago, so I'm just getting over the jet lag. And the family just came to Hawaii and then they went home. They didn't come to Portugal. So just gearing up for another event and excited to get back on the road again with them.
It's been a while since you and I have talked on the podcast, despite you being now a 4-time return guest. But it's safe to say that quite a lot's also changed between the last time you and I talked and now. Talk to me about it. Like starting 2024 CT season, some huge life changes. What were the similarities and what were the differences when you're starting the championship tour season this year, just given everything else that's happened in your personal life?
Oh man, yeah. I feel like since I've been on your podcast 4 times, there's so much that changes each time I come on. Yeah. I'm like, all right, there's so much to catch up on. It's all a blur. But just where we're at. Oh man, the last time we spoke, I think it was before Margaret's, right?
That sounds right. Hold on, I got it here. I just want to make sure. So, hey, last time we actually talked, it was November 2022. It was, I think it was after your initial Final Five appearance. Then the time before that, it was before the Margaret's event, which you ended up winning, by the way. But it's been a minute. A lot's happened for you since November 2022.
Yeah, there's been a lot happening. I did the final and then, just settling in on tour. Then, there's been so much that's happened in the competitive world and then just in the family life and personal life. It's really exciting. I feel like so many big changes, but just adapting to it all. And I feel like the biggest accomplishment was definitely my little boy, my family. So that's it's just pure love. It's just pure. It's another level of life and another chapter. So to be able to bring them on tour now and have them along for the ride is. Yeah, it's a dream. I couldn't have imagined that. Just settling into that and oh man, I'm trying to just recount everything, but looking forward to another big year for sure. Really, really excited for this year and just gaining more experience and having another go at a title would be cool.
A lot of the world's best surfers, a lot of world champions, people that very, very well, and have probably spent a lot of time with, whether it's Joel, Mick, Kelly, et cetera, have all admitted sort of a singular truth about competing for a world title, which is you have to be a selfish bastard. Like they're like, it is the most selfish thing you can do, even beyond being a professional surfer. The idea of dedicating everything to winning a world title is you have to be selfish. you're at a point in your career where you're absolutely a contender, but at the same
Mm,
time, you're also doing the most unselfish thing you can do, which is also be a parent, right?
mm,
Has that tension played out for you at all? Obviously, it's fresh, but I have a take just
mm,
as an outside observer on how you've sort of handled with it. But I'm curious
sure.
inside your brain, how it's felt.
Yeah, I love that question actually, because at the start of the year, my baby was born, or just before the start of the year, he was born in December, and then it was pretty close to the first event of the year at Pipeline. And when we got over there, I was like, okay, how's this all going to go? It's the first time I've seen other guys on tour with their, with babies, and sometimes it's hard. It's not easy. So I was like, okay, like let's go. Like this is it. And yeah, I had so much energy, almost like way more than usual, and it was almost like too much energy. I feel like I was going so much harder, and I was like, all right, maybe I got to tone it down a little bit, because Pipeline was a real adapting event for
Mm,
me. I felt like just having my family there. There's another human being. You're taking care of, and he's there watching, and it's another member. So it's like, you got extra things happening around you, and then just managing everything, managing your energy, managing your focus, everything, and not pushing them away too, like making them a part of it, because I felt like I was kind of pushing them away a little bit, and I got to be more focused
right.
this
Yeah.
way. And yeah, it was I was like, oh well, they're here to support me, and they love being here, so try and feed off that energy as well. I have the time with them before I go out, and then I have my time to go and surf and be completely present on each thing. So it's like, yeah, that's the big adapting and big learning experience for me. I feel like, and in the second event, it was the opposite event compared to Pipeline, so it was interesting.
Well, it's interesting to hear you say that too, because I was on the ground at Pipe and watched sunset in Portugal very closely, and I'm always curious, as having my kids are 10 now, but like have been through the early fatherhood thing, and a few folks that I've talked to that have been in the same boat, and we joked about it before we start recording, is how much more precious time becomes. So it's like, okay, well,
Hmm.
I've got an hour to surf, and even if I have an hour to surf versus 10 hours to surf before my kids are born, I'm doing so much better in that hour because I'm so much more present and focused than I was before. And that really seemed like to be the case, again, just as an outside observer in the free surfs at Pipe. And even in the event, you seem so switched on and present. And of course,
Mm,
bit of bad luck, like at Pipe,
mm,
against, I think it was
for
Ramsey,
sure.
who's on a heater. But then same thing in Portugal as well. You were surfing amazing. You seemed locked in, just came up against a rampaging Medina. So, and then at sunset, that eventuality didn't happen. So to me, you've actually looked really consistent across three events. There were just two kind
Mm,
of outlier heats in Ramsey and Gabrielle. I don't know if that's a
mm,
fair read from your perspective, or if you're thinking like, no, I should
mm,
be winning every event. But curious.
mm. Yeah, no, it's you want to win every event, and you try to, but it's just surfing too. Like
Mm,
I remember everything probably outside of the water at Pipe. I was kind of figuring things out, and then I was probably looked good inside the water, and then it just
right.
didn't really go my way. But yeah, the same thing in Portugal. I felt like just the energy was down the beach, and Gabriel had a great heat, and it was that's the way it goes sometimes. But I did feel good, and I didn't take it to heart really. I was like, even because I know it's a long year, and it's an important event, but it's also, I kind of I enjoy the wins, and then it's like you have losses, and it's like, well, why should you get so down when you have a loss? It's like sometimes you just don't read into losses as much as others, and I just felt like, yeah, it was. No, everything's good. In the water, I feel good, and outside now, I feel like I've adapted more just with the family and traveling and everything. So
Right.
um, yeah, it's just about maintaining the energy for the year. I feel like it's going to be such a busy year with the Olympics
Sure.
and having all these huge events coming up. So yeah, really, just really trying to manage the energy well.
That always seemed like one of the things that Mick Fanning was able to do so well when he was winning so much, is he would be upset by the losses, but he always would say, you learn from it, you process it, and then you backburner it. Like you can't
Mm,
let it throw you off your square, because you've got to be back on your game, within minutes, planning the next trip, planning the next quiver order, et cetera, et cetera. You and Brendan Leckie and the whole Sharp Eye program, but you and Brendan out of
Mhm.
Australia in particular, have been such a
Mhm.
crucial pillar to the success story of Sharp Eye in recent years. And you've looked
Mhm.
amazing on those boards. But you've also always been very open about, your relationship with Eric Arakawa on the North Shore and how that's a second family for you. And heading into the season this year, both at Pipe and Sunset Beach, it felt like you were in a place where you were more comfortable to have more of a fully throated endorsement of, look, I'm feeling confident on these boards from Uncle Eric, so we're going to be surfing these in
Mhm.
Hawaii. And
Mhm.
then no problem transitioning into Portugal back onto the Sharp Eyes. Is that a fair assessment?
For sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. The last thing you want to be thinking about is walking down to the beach like, oh, I'm not sure if this board, feels a bit funny. Like who's watching me? I'm gonna get, am I gonna get in trouble, for riding a different board? But it's like, I have such a good deal with the Sharp Eye guys and Eric and, I'm with the Sharp Eye Oz guys. So they're just really cool. They do whatever needs to be done and get me what I need. And Brennan's really cool. He lives just down the road. We have the boards right here. They get made right here. We're surfing all the time, close. And now I'm going to get a bunch of Marcio's this year again. When I first started on Sharp Eye, actually, it was Marcio's boards that I got first, and I had an instant connection with them. Like, the boards were another level. Like, I was like, wow, okay. So I'm going to get a bunch more off him again this year. They're really good to work with. They're just he's the magic man. He's designer and everything. And then obviously Eric. It's family. It's more than the boards. It's a relationship that lasts forever. It's like you know obviously I don't ride the boards at every stop always. I mix it up now, but I'll be riding them probably at a lot of stops this year. So like there's obviously a lot of good stops. There's Tahiti, there's Fiji, there's all these waves. So yeah, it's just really, really exciting. And it's just, I love having that because it's trust over many years. You ride a board and, you don't think it's like, and it doesn't confuse it. I have the two, I have Sharp Eye and Eric. So it's like, it's pretty amazing to be able to draw on those two. And, I just want to be on the best boards, and ultimately that's going to get me wins and that's what matters. So, yeah.
For sure. And I mean that comfort level both on the boards, but then at waves, as I said, I know the result wasn't the one you wanted at Pipe, but both inside and outside the
Mm-hmm.
jersey, that connection was so evident. And then
Mm-hmm.
absolutely inside the jersey when we moved to Sunset Beach, it felt like, and I'm interested to get your take on this too, it wasn't just, an elevated physical talent approach performance that I think most people witnessed. It felt like you were just almost mentally and spiritually and just so psychologically sharp heat to heat there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously a venue that means a lot to you, but can you talk to us a little bit about that, and also just about that event and how you're marching through the field, and even on that finals day, it felt like it was predestined that you were going to end up on the podium.
Yeah, I felt like that too. It was a special event that was meant to be just having everyone there. It was we were so strong as a team. I felt like just my whole crew, and then obviously the boards were on another level. And yeah, it's been many years, putting in time out there, and just I wanted it so bad. I was so hungry for that event, and especially after the first one, it just kind of fueled the fire. And then yeah, it was, I kind of went into like warrior mode. Like I was just nothing. There was nothing that wasn't going to give 100% on. I had like the worst wipeouts too, like in one of the heats, and I was just getting slammed, jerseys getting ripped off, board shorts getting ripped off, and I was like, I do not care. I'm just, and I felt sick during the heat. I was like, I'm going to just give 100% everything I have. And yeah, that was a really special event because you put so much in, and then you get it all back, and the reward, it means so much. So to win that event was just incredible. And yeah, Zan's first victory. He was watching, my son. So
Came pretty quick for that kid. Good for you guys.
It
What,
came quick. Yeah.
yeah, but now the bar is here, right? So your son
Mhm.
now is like, hey, I've seen you do this before. If you get knocked out before the quarters, it's no dinner for you, Dad.
He's going,
Um,
oh man,
yeah,
okay.
what
Daddy's got to get
happened?
the bread.
That's right. One
Fully.
one of the awesome things too, since you've signed with Volcom, is obviously the real estate in Hawaii. You guys are right there, right at Backdoor Pipeline. Got the
Mhm.
best view on the North Shore. And I know we've talked about this in the past, and it's 50-50. Sometimes when a surfer loses the early in the event, they're like, I don't even want to watch it on the webcast. I'm not watching at all. But given how amazing that final day at Pipeline was, specifically with surfers like Molly and Katie and Betty Lou, did you watch
Yeah.
that live? And if so, what were your impressions of how that next generation of women really kind of pushed the envelope for them?
Uh, that day was funny. I ran off and surfed sunset because I didn't want to watch, and I would have watched if sunset wasn't good, but I had to go. I was just so hungry for sunset, so I went and did that. But then I got back there later. I went to the Red Bull house later, and I did some physio and stuff, and I saw Molly and I saw everyone there, and told me how the day was, and I looked back at just the highlights and everything, and it was really a pivotal day for women surfing. I feel like the bar just got raised. It was kind of here, and then it just went woof, like through the roof. So I actually remember we had a call with with WSL, with Jesse and everyone, Luli, everybody, and we were talking about it and just women surfing, and I was like, man, I feel like women surfing, they can just, this new generation is just going to push the level so much higher, and they want it, like
Yeah.
throw them out there. So it was so cool to see that. I feel like that was just, it was gonna happen at some point, and it was just a matter of time. So yeah, that was it psyched me up so much.
We mentioned we're recording. This is March 18th, 19th. We're coming up on the Bells Beach window, and then back to your home state for the Margaret River Pro at Main Break there in Margaret River. Um, Two waves that you have a lot of experience at. Um, you know, Looking ahead at Bells Beach and then again to Margaret River, like what are kind of the contours of your approach for these back to events? You're currently sitting before the midseason relegation, currently sitting fourth in the world, as you talked about so eloquently. Figuring out that rhythm and balance between personal time with your family and professional time training for the event. Um, Board details. What can you give us about looking at Bells and then looking at Margaret River, as you kind of ramp up for the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, I've got a bunch of boards here from Oz that I'm going to get for bells. Might have a couple of Marcios, maybe sprinkle a couple of Erics in there too, a couple of Ericaos if it's bigger. But yeah, I was up early this morning, like 3 a.m. I can't sleep from the jet lag, so I was like, okay, like let's get ready for bells, and just writing down the orders, what I'm going to get. And then the forecast does look good for bells. Like it looks like there's going to be waves. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I'm definitely excited to get back down there. I feel like bells is kind of similar. Bells and Margaret's are kind of similar. Not they don't get as big always as Sunset, but the slopiness of the wave
Mm.
is like pretty similar. Like it doesn't really have much of a bottom. It's like you can't go all the way to the bottom. It's kind of so it's kind of just about um, really having the right boards for there. It's really, really crucial. And yeah, I think that's going to be a big, big factor.
Is there anyone like local wise, team wise, sponsorship relationship wise that you tap into for maybe some sort of elder god insights? I mean, obviously, Mick Fanning, you and him know each other pretty well. But
Yep.
I'm curious, is there anyone in particular at either venue that you ask forecast insights or board insights, or is it you just kind of keep your own company on that kind of stuff?
No, I definitely look to other guys and try to pick and learn things from them. Like I watch so many Parko clips out there. I feel like Parko had, one of the best raps ever out there, probably the best. But him and Mick and um, Kelly in the past, just a lot of these guys, I feel like I kind of lean on that and watch a lot of clips, but also and you see some guys like Adam Robbo and the guys that know the
Right.
waves really well down there. You kind of watch and learn and see what they do out there too, and see where they sit and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely, it's one of those waves where you got to put in the time. I feel like, I went there a long time ago, a while before the event, 3 years ago. I went 3 weeks before, and I just tried to figure it out because I'd never surfed a comp out there. And I feel like it's one of those waves that you need to put time in, and it's like sunset. It's like all the waves, but especially there, it changes so much too with the tides and whatnot. So yeah, definitely lean on all the advice and all the little intricacies that I can pick out of there. So yeah, lean on the older generation. They know.
Respect your elders. I like it.
Yeah, respect your elders.
We're going to take a quick break to get a word in from our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Olympics and your upcoming project with Samsung. We'll be right back. All right, this is the lineup. I am Dave Prodan here with the one and only Jack Robinson. Jack, we talked about what a stellar start and end of the 2023 CT season you had. Coming into the final event of the season, the Shiseido Tahiti Pro at Chopu, you mowed the field down, and you not only qualified for the WSL finals last year, but you punched your ticket provisionally qualifying for this year's Olympic Games, Paris 2024. The surfing event's going to be held in French Polynesia, which is pretty cute, at Chopu, at a venue that you've had a special relationship with for quite a long time and are the defending CT winner at the venue. That must have been a huge day, both for the WSL finals qualification, but also knowing, oh my gosh, I'm going to represent my country on the biggest sporting stage on the planet in the Olympics at a venue that I really excel at.
Oh, that was an incredible day. I was just thinking back to it. I can remember the day so clearly. Just that whole trip and everything. It was such a wild event. I basically had to win it. It came down to me and Gabriel in the final, and yeah, just there was so much on the line that event. It was like everything was on the line: the finals, the Olympic qualification, and winning the event. And it was it was such a special one. I feel like, yeah, just looking back on that was one I'll remember forever. Really, really special. And I've been going there for so many years, and to qualify for the Olympics as well, that was one of the biggest achievements for me, because it's not just any Olympics; it's at Chopu too. So it's a special one, and yeah, it was the last event before the finals, and I had to win, and it just so much came down to it. So much gets put into it, and yeah, we were there, and I have Julia, my baby was in her belly still, and she was screaming like, like, let's go. And so he was kind of there in just sleeping, but he was hearing it all. And I don't know, just that event was so incredible. And yeah, looking forward to the Olympics now too. Definitely it's a big one. So yeah, it's going to be a lot on the line there.
For sure. And I mean, both, the championship tour in the last several years elevating and becoming more popular, surfing becoming more popular as a function of being on the Olympic stage, it elevates the profile of every top level surfer on the planet. And with that elevation comes kind of fantastic opportunities. Earlier this year, Samsung announced the introduction of Team Samsung Galaxy, which is a roster of inspiring athletes and ambassadors all over the world. You're mentioned as part of this group of people. What does it mean to you to be a part of that team in particular?
Yep. So I signed with Samsung earlier this year, and it's been amazing. I'm really just pumped to be on the team and representing my country, and being alongside all the other amazing athletes is super inspiring. So yeah, it's incredible. It gives me the tingles thinking about it, and going to the Olympics, and just representing a lot. So yeah, it's going to be incredible. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, they have an amazing documentary actually that we were filming that in Hawaii this year that they're doing on a lot of athletes. There's, I think, John and Joanne were the other two surfers that were doing it, and then I spent a full day filming, and yeah, it was just really high level. I feel like they're going to capture some amazing content, and the way they're going to piece it together will be really, really cool. So it'll kind of give like a broader look, and just I feel like for the people who don't watch surfing all the time, it'll, they'll be able to understand it a lot more, because there's so many other people that we reach in the Olympics, and we want them to understand it and be drawn into what we feel, and I feel like that's going to really showcase that. So it'll be one big part of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because obviously inside and outside the jersey, you're someone that's been in front of the camera for quite a long time, since you were very, very young, and have worked on everything from, core surf videos to probably stuff that is a little more transcendent and reaches a wider audience. In working with Samsung, as you mentioned, they're partnering with 3 different leagues with the worlds of surfing, skating, and breaking for this 3-part documentary series. And the film, which is currently in post-production, as you pointed out, it explores that connection between surfers and the ocean. What were some of the key differences in working with this group and working on this project compared to maybe projects you've worked on in the past?
I think just how professional they are and quick. It's like Hollywood or something. They get the take, and they're like, boom, we got it. Okay, done. And then they're really open, to understanding your connection with the ocean, and how each, I feel like, each different personality is, and just capturing that. They were just really open to whatever what was my how I go about things, just as a human being, and my connection with the ocean. And there's a lot, people just see us riding the waves, but there's a lot more that happens out there, and it's not just riding the wave. It's these waves come from thousands and thousands of miles away, and you have to really be connected to it. And it's kind of a thing you can't explain, but I feel like if they can capture it visually and piece it together like that, then that's the things that you can't always define so well, they can be captured visually. And I think they're going to do a really good job of that. So yeah, just really professional. They were like so quick and so easy to work with. So it's cool.
It makes sense, because there's always that tension, I think, in surfing where people like look at the core and then like the uninitiated, whether it's a sponsor or a media partner, a fan or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always hear this where it's like, oh, if you make something for the core, like the mass market won't understand it. And then vice versa. Like if you make something for the general public, it will betray the core. But I think like really good content, regardless of where it's made on the spectrum, it's like if it's really good, it's going to work for everybody, because I think hardcore surfers will appreciate it for being honest. Non-surfers will probably just appreciate it for being interesting. And Samsung earlier this year, they announced their official theme for the Olympic and Paralympic Games for Paris 2024, and that was "Open Always Wins," which I think articulates that brand's belief, having an open mind and having new experiences and having those be meaningful is not only additive to someone like yourself who's an athlete, but additive to that community as well. And it sounds like, as you pointed out, it's not just about what you do on the wave. It's about what being a surfer means to you, what being a part of that community means to you, about what being a global citizen means to you in a lot of ways, and being able to travel and fit into these communities. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I feel like, our surf community was a lot smaller like years ago, but so many people from all corners of the world, and now obviously surfing's exploded and it's growing so much. So I think just understanding, each person's story, and where they come from and how they're connected to, the people around them, and and each different place around the world. It's like, the whole ocean is one, and you got to kind of be open to each different place and experiencing new things. So surfing really does that, and I hope they'll be able to capture that. So that'll be amazing.
We talked about it earlier. You're at home now on the Gold Coast. You were in Portugal. You and your family were in Hawaii for a few months. You have your place in Western Australia. And I think you and I talked about this on a previous episode. Everyone should go back and listen to them because they're great. But I remember a long, long time ago running into Stephen Bell, who was Kelly Slater's sort of confidant, coach, family member really for years and years. And I remember we were in Jeffreys Bay, and I remember the event finished and everyone flew home. like everyone was flying home. And I remember being there, and Belly was like, well, Kelly's not flying home because J-Bay is going to pump for the next 4 weeks. He's going to stay here and surf, And Belly was kind of beside himself because he's like, I don't understand. He's like, all these kids that want to grow up and be a world champ, like, how do you think Kelly did it? Like, Kelly doesn't actually have a fixed home. Like, he's been doing this for so long and he's so comfortable, and he's got friends and de facto families everywhere he goes, that he can get very, very comfortable being in one place and staying there for weeks and figuring the place out. And in that way, he becomes really like a global citizen. And I'm not saying it's a one-to-one, but it feels like your upbringing, having traveled so extensively growing up, and now having, home bases in different places around the planet. I wonder if you feel like there's a little bit of a kinship with that idea of being a global citizen yourself.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I feel like from when I grew up, I was fortunate enough to be on Quicksilver, and they took me around the world, and I was able to go with my family, and not everyone gets to do it. I know Leo did it, Kanoa did it, and it's sort of like the three of us traveling. We had about 5 years there where we were really young, and that's when we were starting out and traveling to all these places. And I remember watching Kelly, and he would be in these places, and he would stay longer, and if the waves are good, but also just to put in the time there too. It's not even just for the waves, it's just to have a connection with the people and the places. Like, that's kind of, you just go there to surf, like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go there and kind of like use the waves almost. But it's like, no, like, you have a lot of friends in these places, and I feel like he has a lot of friends around the world. I have a lot of friends around the world. It's like, you feel more connected, feel more at home when you do that, and you create more of a connection just with the place. And that's super important. I feel like, just to feel at home. It's like, we're traveling all year. We don't have a fixed home. It's not easy being away from home if you miss home. It's hard. A lot of people can't always manage it. And but if you can try and make that connection and feel comfortable in those places by doing that, it's be a global citizen. That's the get as many passports as you could, if I could anyway. But I feel like, like, I've been going to Hawaii so many years and have so many friends there, and going to Tahiti or wherever it is, Europe, America, South America, like, it doesn't even matter. It's just, that's for what we do, the tour, it's so unique in that way. So we need to spend time abroad and, really kind of lean on that.
Bringing it back to 2024, your run both on the championship tour, but as you pointed out, it's an Olympic year. August is going to be in Chopu. You're going to be competing for a gold medal for your home country of Australia. Is it a conscious decision for you to balance both things? Like, all right, I'm going to do my best on the CT. I'm going to try to qualify for the WSL finals. I want to win a world title. That's the goal every year. But also, it's important that I protect my body and I protect myself, because this year in particular is very special with the Olympics being at Chopu, and I have a shot to win that. And the reason I bring that up is it actually goes into the way we design the CT calendar, because last year we had Chopu as the event right before the finals. For someone like yourself that had to go all out and win the event to qualify, it wasn't so much a concern for you, but some of the other surfers who had maybe already qualified, it wasn't necessarily in their best interest to put everything on the line and get hurt before the world title event goes down. So I bring it up now because we've got Chopu coming up after the cut. We've got Fiji before the finals, and everything's kind of happening in and around the Olympics. Do you consciously kind of protect yourself throughout the year, or do you just surf every event as hard as you can?
Yeah, interesting. So I'll go back to last year real quick.
Yeah.
At this time last year, I feel like I was doing so much, and I was on a roll. And it's in a similar position this year, but it's like last year I was going so hard before bells, and then ended up getting injured.
Right.
And I felt like I was forcing it a lot. And then if you come back to this year, there's a lot happening, the Olympics, and obviously WSL finals, everything. I feel like it's about not forcing it as well, like and when you start off like a pipeline too, like why would you go too crazy? I feel like and I see other guys that were in the finals last year, and yeah, they're not going to go too hard at chopes. Well, you're like, oh, what are they doing? Like, it's not, why are they even here? But then it's like, well, why would you force it too? You're in a good position, and you got to play it smart too as a surfer. Like it's, there's just so much on the line. So yeah, it's not forcing it, but it's also not holding back too much. You kind of got to be in the middle if you can find it, and still go for it. Because if you're just trying to be too careful sometimes, then you can get really, smoked as well. And you can get, so it's kind of a balancing thing. I think just not forcing, because I had the injuries last year and I was kind of forcing it. And then, you kind of just got to be really present, especially the waves of consequence, I feel like.
Surfing's so unique in that way, right? Because if you think of other sports like the NBA and you talk about like time management or load management to like protect players' bodies before the playoffs, or, the NFL where it's like, oh yeah, the Chiefs are fine. Like Patrick Mahomes will be fine. Like he doesn't need everyone firing through the season as long as they get to the playoffs, right?
For sure.
But in surfing, there's different motivations, right? Because of course you want to get results. Of course you want to perform. That stabilizes your lifestyle and sponsorship endorsements and prize money, all those good things. But then I think for so many surfers, it's like, well, the reason I'm doing all of that is so I can go get barreled at Pipeline, because that's kind of the ultimate goal, right? In a lot of ways. And
ultimate.
Or Chopu or wherever, or whatever, like, Perfect J-Bay, whatever it is. But Leo Fioravanti was on the podcast earlier in the year. And his wife is from the North Shore, so he spends a few months there. So you guys probably are on similar programs. And he was saying that in the off season, he's like, all I want to do is get barreled at Pipe. He goes, but if any one thing is not feeling right, my equipment, my body, like my head state, the conditions look a little weird. He goes, I have to actively like suppress that urge to go out there because it might hurt me. And he goes, it's a weird tension. And he's like, so I don't know if that's something that you play with as well, because you seem like the kind of surfer that's like, I just want to get the biggest barrel. I want to do the biggest air. I want to do the biggest turn. That's what all this is for. But as you said, it's a bit of a balance to keep it going in perpetuity.
For sure. Yeah. In the off season, I always want to do that. I want to go get the best waves, and on tour as well. It's the dream tour. You look at the dream tour as a kid and, you envision, those waves and, and obviously when you get to the dream tour, you learn to compete as well, though, sometimes the conditions might not be as good. You have to be an all-rounder. So, but in your question, like when you feel something's not right and the waves are really gnarly and, there could be something that might happen. It's like, yeah, if something's off, it's just, after all the experience, after all the years, I feel like, no, it's not the time, or it's not the day. Okay, no, I'm going to wait, and you learn that, like, you see people get hurt, and especially this last season in Hawaii, guys were getting just annihilated. There was so many bad wipeouts. João Chiumba, like, he's a really good surfer, gave me the tingles just then. It's like, it's so scary seeing guys like that go down, and then Kai Lenny and Emio from Tahiti. It's like, you see a lot of bad wipeouts, so it's, just try and respect the moment, respect the waves. And, if you're not up to it on the day, then it's not bad. You'd rather keep your body safe and, everything healthy. So you kind of learn that. I used to want the biggest wave always. I'd be like, I want the biggest wave at Chopa. I want it. And yeah, sure. Like now, yeah, if I'm in the right spot, but it's like you also got to preserve yourself too. You can't just be throwing it out there and getting, putting yourself in harm's way.
So if we were to take a look at the surfers from the current championship tour on the men's side that you will be facing off against other surfers, of course, in the Olympics, you've got Griffin Colapinto, Ethan Ewing, John Florence, yourself, of course, Kanoa Igarashi, Jordy Smith, Leonardo Fioravanti, Matty McGillivray, and recently Gabriel Medina. Who's looking like the nastiest threat at Chopu from your perspective?
I think everybody's a threat, to be honest. I know, like, there's names that pop up in the draw, but as a competitor, I think everybody's a threat. And, everybody's good. It's it's a lot different now. Everybody's a really good competitor. Everybody surfs really good. Everybody's on a really high level. So, you can't underestimate anybody or take it for granted. I feel like that's just my outlook on it. And, it makes for an exciting event. So, yeah,
Well,
everybody's a threat.
Well, we'll look forward to not only the Olympics, but your documentary with Samsung. We're going to take one more quick break to get a word in from our partners, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the lineup. I am Dave Proden here with Western Australia's Jack Robinson. Jack, thank you once again for your time today. We spent a bit of time talking about the Hawaiian leg in Portugal. We talked a little bit about heading into back-to-back events in Australia, Bells Beach and Margaret River. We talked about the Olympics. Looking ahead to September's WSL finals, post-relegation after Margaret River, we've got Chopu, which you're the defending event winner at. We've got Punta Roca in El Salvador. We've got Saquarema, Rio de Janeiro. And we've got Cloudbreak in Fiji. I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but looking through my notes, the last time we talked, you had actually not ever been to Cloudbreak, but I think that's been remedied since the last time we talked. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I went for my first trip this last September, right after the finals in California. We looked at every single place in the world. Yago, Joel, and me, and we were like, where can we go? Okay, Fiji. Okay, it's meant to be. And then we went there and we scored it, and it was 3 days. And oh man, what a place! It's that's the only place I hadn't been, and I finally went. So hopefully I'll get back there before this event this year. But yeah, what a lineup! Thanks for making that schedule, Dave.
I feel like we talked about it. I think I got in trouble for maybe mentioning it back in 2022. But we're back. We're here. We got the event. We're all in good shape. But what about so you did 3 days there. Did it meet your expectations? Did it surpass your expectations? And if so, what were those?
100%. I mean, I feel like, you have a visualization or an expectation of the place, but it's just like a parallel universe. It's so close to Australia, but it's just, you get there and you're just so in the moment there, like immersed in it. It's like Fiji's such a special place, and it's kind of got that feeling, you get off the plane in Hawaii or Tahiti, and those islands, they just have a special aura. And we got there and we were staying on Tabarua, and we went out and surfed Cloudbreak, and what a place, what a wave. And yeah, just incredible. I've heard so much about it, and it definitely lived up to it, all the expectations. And to have that wave back on tour is just incredible. I wasn't thinking about all the events that you just reeled off, but you reminded me of it now, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of really, really good events. So to have that right before the finals, just to be the last qualifying event, I think it's going to shake a lot of things up too. And you're just getting all the different variety of waves, and that wave, I think people just want to watch that. It's just so exciting, especially leading into the finals. It's like the one event that, you watch, and I just couldn't wait for it to be back on tour. It was missing, it's the missing puzzle. So really, really exciting.
As you said, it is the final CT stop of the year. It will determine the WSL Final 5, who will compete for the world title at Lower Trestles in September. Yeah. Which is an event that you've competed in not once, but twice. I don't know if we've talked since talked on the podcast. I don't know if we've talked on the podcast since you've competed there, but that in and of itself, the one-day event at Lower Trestles, best 5 surfers of the year, linear format, is so unique in and of itself. What have been your experiences in that specific event? What have you learned from back-to-back years competing for it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely different. It's a one-day event, and it all comes down to that moment. And there's definitely the world title is literally hanging on that moment. So I think I had so many thoughts about it and looking into it, and I think it's just a unique wave. Like, you have to have the right equipment there. Last year, I felt like my boards were just off. I just didn't feel that good. And I think it's going to be a different story this year. Though I've put in way more time, and but that happens, like the first few years on tour, you have to figure it out. And, um, you know, Trestles is just, it's a unique wave. It's different. It's really high performance, but it's kind of flatter too, that there's a certain type of board that you need for there. And, yeah, I just felt a little bit kind of like I didn't have the right equipment this last finals. And, it's not even blaming anything. I just think putting in some time there and coming over and trying more boards, because I was trying to figure out boards like literally the night before the contest. And I was just like, still, kind of not sure, but it was, that's all learning for me and my team too. And obviously the format too it's something to get used to. I think it just happens with experience too. Like the first year, then okay, you're going to get it the second year, but it's like, all right, now it's just taking it all in and going there with, just trying to be free and surf free, because, there's it can be a lot of pressure if you, kind of buy into it. But I think just being free and going surfing, I'm there to surf. Try and keep it really simple, because do that well. So
I'm glad you brought up boards, because the Vissla CT Shaper rankings is something that we love talking about on this podcast. Your board builder, as of recording, Sharp Eye, they're back in front. They had a healthy showing in Portugal. But as far as boards and the finals format and lower trestles goes, it actually does feel like it's an underreported story that like equipment at that event over the last couple of years has been it's thrown people off. I've heard stories about, Italo surfing was looking too flicky, so Patterson went and like rebuilt the quiver overnight and like added weight to the boards. I mean, Felipe's first world title there, he won on a carbon vacuum bagged quad, and I'm like, no one talks about it. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, because it's so interesting. And as you pointed out, lowers, it is a high performance wave, but it's a high performance wave that can take some work. It requires boards that are going to drive you through those fatter spots. With regards to your own equipment, you mentioned, the quiver wasn't where it needed to be for you last year, but how experimental do you get, both at a wave like lower trestles, but then also with a format like the finals where everything's on the line? Like, would you consider riding a quad? Would you consider riding an epoxy? Like how weird would you be willing to get with your own equipment?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like each guy's different on tour. Yeah, Philippe rode his carbon board. I tried that board. I don't know if it's for me, but and I just think quads. I'm not myself. I don't really ride quads, but like when it's really big and stuff, yeah, I ride quads. But I don't know. It's just something different. I maybe haven't found the right fins and paired the right fins with that board, but I think the thrusters and what I ride, I think it's just about dialing in, what we have and making some minor adjustments. Sometimes you can go down the rabbit hole and try all these different boards and try and even look to, at other boards and what other guys are riding. Oh, he's on that shaper, and what did they do different? Or, what's Mayhem doing? Or, it's like, yeah, you see Mick jump on Mayhem's back there years ago, like, and he's won there on it, I think.
Yeah.
Right? He won Trestles. Yeah. But I feel like Marcio and the guys there, they have such a good handle on it. And obviously I get boards from Australia, so I was riding those last year, but I think, dialing it in this year and having more time, and then really kind of zoning in with Marcio and those guys, I think that can bring out some magic. So, yeah, sometimes you don't want to complicate it too much, but yeah, just try and, I feel like not as many boards too, like try and have quality boards too, like not have 20 boards always. Sometimes I get a bit confused. I'll just try and like take 8 or 6 or 8 maybe, try and dial it down.
Right.
So
that's pretty common on tour though, is like the paralysis by options, right? Where I remember years ago, Travley, who's now at Firewire Slater Designs, he was at Channel Islands, and I remember him telling me that we were in France one year, and he's like, "Oh, these are Dane's boards." I'm like, "Well, how many did you bring to the event site?" He's like, "I only ever bring 2 because," and he goes, "And they're the same board." He goes, "It's just I don't want him sitting there looking at like 4 or 5 options and then just being out in the water and thinking, I should have gone with that one. Like you're just anything to clear the
Right?
mind. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and that makes a ton of sense. I can't imagine how intense it is for you guys. If I've got two boards and I'm just surfing like a 2-foot beach break, I'm always thinking like I should be on the other board.
Yeah, well, right. What do you think? Like, because sometimes I have 20 boards and they're all really similar, but you're going, oh yeah, you can start getting in your own head and start going, oh, this might feel a bit different, and this might be better. Oh, that looks better, and
Yeah.
it's
It's just
just a bit of
excuses for
head
me. I'm
noise.
just, yeah, it's not the board's
Yeah,
fault.
just you could write a door, bro. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
No, no, no. No, I feel like that too. Sometimes it's just too much going on, and yeah, just got to keep it simple. The shaper, tell them like what you're feeling, and then keep it pretty simple sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's been awesome to watch you so far this year. I can't wait to catch up with you in person down the track, but also see how
for
the
sure.
rest of the season pans out for you. Before you go, we did put out a feeler for some questions from the Instagram community at the Lineup Pod. We got a bunch back for you, but we have brought them down to 3. First
Bring them in.
question.
I love answering the fan questions or the people who make all this possible. So
Yes.
yeah, I love that.
First question is from @AC Condon, who asks, does Robbo feel like he's in his prime now with fatherhood and being back in his homeland?
100%. I feel like we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, it's all adapting, but I feel like you just got to channel that inner dad strength. I love that question.
It's a good answer, and not that you would have. It just would have been a rough hang for Zen if you're like, no, I feel like a shell of a human being, and
No,
I'm
man, you're weighing
weaker.
me down. You're too heavy. I'm like, oh man,
Nah.
nah, he's
Dad
all
strength all the
happiness,
way.
man.
I like it.
For sure, dad strength, brother. You know the deal.
I know the deal. I wouldn't be upright without my kids. Okay, second question is from @mermaid_mentoring, who asks, how is your exposure to Brazilian culture and coaches informing your surfing in new ways? I love that question. And maybe just as a bit of background, we
Definitely.
mentioned your beautiful wife, Julia. She is from Brazil. Your
Yep.
coach, Leandro, who's Iago's father, is Brazilian. And you've made it a point, unlike few surfers before you, to, as we talked about early in the podcast, really make yourself a part of that community. But great question. I'm curious to hear your answer on this one.
For sure, it definitely shapes a lot in my life, and I feel like just embracing that culture. It's like I have so many friends down there, and obviously with the Dora family, and being kind of a sparring partner with Yago, and we always surf together. They're just a really good family. They're an amazing family, and I have really good relationship with them. Obviously, even before I've known Yago for a long time, and obviously working with them and Leandro and everybody, it's a really amazing connection. And Julia gets along with them really well. She actually kind of reconnected everything, after the wave pool. The first year I was on tour, you're like, they reached out and they're like, we're open to work, if you want to work together. And, just learning a lot with them. And I think it's just such a healthy respect there. And, it's like family. So they're just amazing people.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Next question, last question that we've pulled from the Instagram community is, can you, oh, sorry, excuse me. This is from @Avant Surfwax, longtime listeners. We love Avant Surfwax. Can you explain your breath work? I'm assuming this is what you do in and around training and maybe ahead of heat preparation.
Sure. So my breath work, it kind of consists of an everyday routine. Even it's my life. I feel like, I wake up and I do breath work. Even through the day, I'm trying to be conscious of my breathing. And, I feel like there's a lot of information out there on, now there's a lot more, and people are a lot more aware of it because, it's so important for our life. I feel like competing, obviously you're in a certain zone when you're competing and you're trying to manage your breathing, but I think just in everyday life, just regulating our stress management just in general, I feel like that's what it is stress management, trying to always listen to your breath and be calm, even all the time, because there's a lot of things that are a stress in the world, and it's just how we manage them. And if you can breathe through everything, and sometimes when you're getting stressed, it's like, what do you come back to? You always breathe. So there's different protocols for everything. There's like thousands of protocols, but what you see me doing before my heats, that's just kind of an activation. It's just a certain routine for that. But, if you just check out pranayama online, you'll get to see all that information. You can choose what's good for you. But I always try to be conscious of the breath. I feel like, we can breathe and, do everything on land, no worries. But if we take away our breath, we can't survive for, more than a few minutes. So it's, you got to be conscious of that.
Yeah, that's really well said too. And I think it's in that bucket of like one of those things that we all take for granted. I know Tyler Wright's been pretty vocal just about having her surgery to like open up her airway this year and how that's been transformative. And you hear people being like, oh my God, yeah, I started walking outside 10 minutes a day. It changed my life. It's this basic stuff is like a human species
Simple
that
stuff.
It was always programmed into our species, but modern life is sort of like maybe made us forget some of it. And it's like, oh yeah, just take some time. Like these are really fundamental health things that are important. So it's well said.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's simple steps, but I feel like, even 5-10 minutes a day, if you're just conscious of, your breathing and, I feel like it changes your life, and even just living like we do, an active lifestyle and surfing all the time. It's a part of what we do. So yeah, check it out.
Right on. Thank you to everyone that wrote in at the Lineup Pod. We're now down to our final segment. It is the lightning round. You've done this twice before, at least. And I do have your answers, so we'll be able to check for consistency here. But these are the same 10 questions we ask everyone at the end of the podcast for you to answer as quickly as you can.
Let's go.
First question. If you can only have one board setup for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Thruster, glass on fins. Wouldn't have to change the fins.
There you go. I like it. That's consistent, but with the added glass on fins, which I appreciate the update. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Yeah, that's consistent. Burrito or pizza?
Burrito.
Okay. So your answers previously were burrito and then pizza, and now we're back to burrito. So that's interesting. All right. We're going to have concerns if this is the same answer. Last book you read?
I'm reading The Alchemist. It's a good book right now.
That's a great book.
Love that book.
Good.
You read that book?
I have. Yeah, a few times, actually.
Oh,
it's great.
Such a good little book, huh? It just keeps you going.
Simple,
and you just get into
tight,
it.
good story. Always learn something new every time I read it.
I love a good book. Any recommendations, let me know.
That's a WhatsApp thread for you and I.
Okay.
Okay, so this next question, you nailed it back to back, same answer, twice. So let's see if you can go for a three-peat. Best surf film ever.
The Bruce movie?
Yep, that's in there. You had a second one.
Stranger Than Fiction's been in there.
Trilogy was the other one.
Trilogy got me. Sorry, Trilogy was amazing, but Stranger Than Fiction's been popping up in my head because the playlist.
It's good. Yeah. Days of the Strange too. That's a good recut on that one too.
Days of the Strange. Oh, I got to tidy up and look at all this again.
Well, because they did. I think Stranger Than Fiction was like, if I remember it correctly, Taylor Steele with Kai Neville helping, and then they did a re-edit with a bunch of backlog footage that Kai led, and it was called Days of the Strange, but it was more like the Kai Dion playlist. So it's worth it. It's as a good high watermark in surf cinema, but good answers.
For sure. That's the highest level.
What is one wave you never have to go back to?
They're probably going to hate me for saying this. But you know that little wave off the rocks at Merriweather? What's that wave called again? Like the little off the rocks wave? We will never go back to that wave. And that little right, it's not that bad, but it's just like, no, like a little double up, funny little wave. I don't know, like not in a contest.
Fair enough. I was going to say, I feel like That I've surfed it a bunch. It is fun, but like I've never had to do it with anything on the line. So, so I feel
Oh
like,
my God.
yeah, that
It was my first year on the tour. We were surfing this little right, and literally it lows down the beach doing airs on a 1 foot shore break. I'm going, what is this right now?
he caught like 19 waves in that heat too. I remember it was just like
Oh
every
my
other
God.
wave was like bang, and then like wow.
Oh, bro, he caught 100 waves. He didn't even have a leash on. I was doing laybacks on the dry sand, and I'm just going, oh my God, okay, like we're probably not going to come back here next year for this on the shore. Like if it's out the bag, all right, but the shore break, no.
It's a fair answer. I'm sure the Novocastrians will be. They're an understanding species.
No, I love all them. I'm like good friends with everybody there, but just, yeah, sorry guys. I want to surf out the back, not the inside.
That's fair.
Sorry, Jacko Baker. I surfed against him in that heat too. That's so funny.
Yeah. All right. If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life, you can dream cast it, perfect conditions, just your friends out. Which wave would it be?
Ooh, that's a hard question. And probably, it doesn't matter where it is almost. It just matters if, no, actually, you know what? It does matter. It could be on a boat trip with all my best friends in the Mental Wise or, wherever. We're just, as long as you're with your friends and, I think it's just enjoying it. Pure love, that's what surfing's about. It's why you get into it. So, yeah, good friends and maybe a boat trip with the Mental Wise. I think that's it.
Good answers. Best person to share a lineup with?
Oh, I could probably get out of this one for everybody on tour. I'll just say my wife, Julia, because she loves surfing.
There you go. That's a prior answer. So good. That's great.
Yeah, and then Zen when he grows up, I'll share the lineup with him soon. So that'll be amazing.
There you go.
I've got out of saying any tour guys.
That's fair. Well, we'll see how you go on this next one. Who's the worst person to share a lineup with?
I said Geordie last time, didn't I?
He's made it in one of your answers. Long
I remember
arms, that
that
guy. That's the problem.
Yeah, the worst guy to share a lineup with. That's just always there. Leo's pretty gnarly. He's like always there. Leo's like maybe if we're on a surf trip together, it's okay. But if you're in a contest, like competing against each other, those free surfs, because where we travel everywhere with the contests and the free surfs in the morning, they're the hardest free surfs to ever get waves in. Mm-hmm. And he's always on, he's on a lot of good waves. So Leo, I'm watching you.
That always baffled me when, you're on tour, working on tour, and so there's also like the point of like, hey, they're practicing. I don't want to get in their way. But then people be like, wow, right. like, aren't you getting the best waves at J-Bay?
We got to rewind. Starkey. I'm getting you, Starkey. Starkey, bro. I can't fast forward past Starkey. I had the best session with him at Sunset this year, but Starkey's on always good waves. Every time. He's on a big board and he's always on good waves.
To each their own, I guess. But
I had to rewind that.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair.
Leo, you're out. Starkey, bro.
That's fair. And you know what? Knowing Starkey, I think he'll take it as a badge of honor. But
you know what? He'll take that.
He will, for sure. But one of the things I was going to say is like, you're traveling on tour and your friends are like, oh man, it's dream life. You must be like getting the best waves at J-Bay. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I don't surf anywhere near the contest site. Like, those are the best surfers in the, like, it is a nightmare free surf for like a civilian. It's bad for you guys are like, it's too many alpha predators out here right now for me to get my waves. This is too much.
Oh, for sure. It's out of control. And sometimes like the girls and the guys and everybody, like the guys are gnarly. And then sometimes, I'll let some of the girls go some waves. Cause I'm like, man, like a couple of them don't get waves sometimes. And I'm like, all right, but I see you guys on tour that, working on tour, all the staff that are part of these events, like, man, you can't catch any waves. It's like, it's hard enough for us. And then we've got locals that want to surf too. They're like, obviously it's their spot too. And then they want to get in on it. But then, usually they're pretty respectful everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. But man, mix everybody in and it's like, it's chaos, it's just, but yeah, it's not as easy as what it looks. Everyone thinks it's just show up and get whatever wave you want. It's not like that.
Fair enough. Last one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by.
In the moment with you right now, just talking to you on the podcast.
Hey, new dads, little moments, they mean a lot.
Man,
I'm into it.
I think you would, yeah, I think achieving happiness right now, you appreciate all the little moments that you get with your son and your family, and you just value that. So just enjoying the moment.
Great
Like that.
answer. Well, Jack
Yeah.
Robinson, thank you so much for coming back on the lineup. 4-time Mark Richards did world champ. I love it. Congrats on the
Love it.
season so far. Looking forward to seeing how the rest of it goes. Congratulations on your Olympic qualification. Can't wait to see how you do at Chopu. Looking forward to your Samsung documentary. And yeah, man, I'm impressed. I'm also impressed that you're just a really good person as well, which isn't always the case. But yeah, I appreciate this, man. You're a good dude and amazing talent. We're lucky to have you on tour.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate everything you guys do. And thanks for having me on the podcast, and look forward to many more.